So the hard thing is, so there are multiple steps for identifying if you even need custom security tests or not. So maybe first you need to try out automated testing tools and see if
Mm-hmm.
they are able to find the issues that you need. But if they are not, and if you are running at a scale, maybe for companies like LinkedIn or Microsoft, which are running on scale, it's difficult to find issues directly using the automated tools. So that's where custom rules come into place. It can be any tooling language, but this is where the custom security tests play a very impactful role.
Welcome to the Elephant in AppSec, the podcast to explore, challenge, and boldly face the AppSec elephants in the room. I'm Alexandra, your host, joined by my amazing co-host Tristan, a former security engineer and co-founder of Escape. Today, we're excited to have an amazing guest, Keshav Malik, join us. Keshav is a senior product security engineer at LinkedIn. With experience in information security and a passion for automation, Keshav brings a unique blend of expertise to the table. Keshav is also a dedicated tech enthusiast and deeply passionate about contributing to the community. He actively writes custom security rules for various applications like Semgrep and has built several projects like QuickXSS, a bash script automating CSS workflows. Not stopping there, Keshav loves to share his knowledge by organizing hands-on workshops, empowering others to write their own custom security tests. Building on Keshav's experience in writing custom security rules, we've challenged him whether adding those custom rules to existing security software can be the next product security engineer's superpower. Want to find out what he thinks? Dive right in.
Keshav, as you know, today we, as security engineers, we have many options for implementing security testing, like security testing in the pipeline, security testing in pre-production, in production, and yet there is a specific kind of vulnerabilities, the vulnerabilities linked to the business logic of applications that
Mhm.
are considered very difficult to find and to evaluate automatically. So I would like to hear more about your take on this. Can writing custom security tests help actually finding and mitigating those business logic vulnerabilities?
Yeah, totally agreed what you mentioned that it's difficult to find it's difficult to find business logic issues or vulnerabilities using automated security testing tools. So basically, the tools that we use, maybe uh, any any automated security testing tool, they test only for known security issues for the whole web application that you have. But the issues that are very specific to your business, those cannot be detected by those scanners. So having custom test for those kind of security issues is a must.
And what's the hard thing about the those custom security tests? What's difficult? Like, why is not everyone using them already?
So the hard thing is, so there are multiple steps for identifying if you even need custom security tests or not. So maybe first you need to try out automated testing tools and see if
Mm-hmm.
they are able to find the issues that you need. But if they are not, and if you are running at a scale, maybe for companies like LinkedIn or Microsoft, which are running on scale, uh, it's difficult to find issues directly using the automated tools. So that's where custom rules come into place. It can be any tooling language, but this is where the custom security tests play a very impactful role.
And how often personally do you use them for your work?
So it depends case to case. So means if there's an issue that cannot be automated, or if there's a very critical severity issues that needs to be detected and prevented at scale, we try to write custom tests for them.
Okay. And usually it comes as just like from bug bounty programs or reports, or
Yes.
do you have like examples, of the use cases where they're actually needed?
So I think sorry, but this I think I cannot disclose that kind of detail.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
No
just
problems.
to to answer your question, yes, most of the reports are either from bug bounty programs or from ad hoc testings that is done by our team internally.
Good.
And if we like not speaking specifically about your employer, but more in general, like what do you consider like a business logic vulnerability as opposed to a classic vulnerability that we could find using like a regular security scanner?
Yeah, definitely. So let's try to understand that by an example. So
Mhm.
maybe a SQL injection issue that can be easily detected by
Yes.
most of the automated testing tools, or maybe an
Mhm.
IDOR or information disclosure. These are
Yes.
easy to find issues that can be detected by automated tools. But whereas let's talk about a very generic, very niche example of a shopping website, maybe that uses coupons. So maybe to coupons are very sensitive area. That's a very gray area. So finding issues very related to the coupons that they generate or that the way they store. So that kind of things cannot be detected or uh, found by automated scanners. So this is where if you write custom tests, very specific to the infra that you maintain and how you generate and maintain the coupon codes. This is where the custom test can help find security issues.
So it's,
Okay.
for instance, trying to find if it's possible to generate valid coupons code or redeem the
It
coupons code of other
correct.
people.
So maybe it can be using the same coupon
Mm.
code multiple times, or
Okay.
if the entropy of the coupon code is not good enough, or maybe the same coupon code can be used at different accounts but at different times. Maybe there can be multiple scenarios, but to give the gist that the scenario is very business specific and how the data is stored and how the coupon codes are generated.
Okay. Very interesting. And like, this is a logic that you kind of understood with experience. And if we talk about, your personal story, how did you like get started, yourself by writing those tests, and how how the first the idea came to you, for your specific organization, a previous job?
No, so I haven't used custom tests before. I started writing and using them in when I started working with LinkedIn only. Before that, my major role was with automation only. But now,
Mm.
in my current profile, this is part of my work where we have to write custom tests to find security vulnerabilities at scale.
Okay, and if you spoke with a company that they implemented the basic scanners, so they have like a SCA, they have SAS,
Right.
and they have like some kind of surface scanning tool, and they
Mm-hmm.
want to implement more in-depth like business logic tests for specific areas, like for instance for a coupons code if they have in their API coupon system. Um, what would be the tech stack you would use to implement that? Would it be like classic Python? Would you use like an API testing tool like Postman or any other specific language to do that?
So, to understand the question correctly, do you mean how can I automate that scenario that I
Yes.
mentioned, or
Yeah,
yeah,
what
okay,
what would be the tech stack of
correct.
choice for automating those
Right.
tests and writing them?
So I think the first thing to clear is you mentioned about SCA and SAS. So
Mhm.
this is not the key area for SCA. SCA
Yes.
is when we scan open source packages for known security issues,
Mm.
but the thing we are discussing is more about static analysis. And
Yes.
I think the tech stack can be very means depending on the scenario and the type of issue we
Okay.
are facing. So it can be so there are multiple testing tools. So one is Semgrep and the other is CodeQL that are most prevalent in the market right
Mhm.
now. So Semgrep is more easy to learn and easy to write as well, whereas
Okay.
CodeQL has uh, quite good learning curve and but
Yes.
supports multiple features that are not supported by SimGrip yet. So one of them is like cross-file integration and etc.
Yes, CodeQL is the one owned by GitHub, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And Semgrep is a company, but it's also open source.
Yeah, so SimGrep has two versions. So one is enterprise and the other is open
Mm.
source. So based on the requirements. Companies take the plan.
And both those, so what you mentioned here is writing custom rules for static analysis. Sometimes do you write custom rules for dynamic analysis, like sending multiple requests and being sure that the response is what is expected?
Right. So mostly for dynamic app scanning, so Nuclei is vastly used. So Nuclei by Project Discovery and Nuclei templates that are also open source. So those templates are used written in YAML and are very easy to understand and write as well.
Okay. And so one of the things I've heard from the practitioners is that sometimes it's quite hard to maintain a dynamic test because the signature of the API, the routes they change, or the data that you need to input, it changes. Is it something that you have noticed too? Like, do you have to maintain your
Yeah.
test or?
Yeah, I totally agreed with what you have heard. So it's difficult to maintain custom test when it comes to dynamic scanning. It can be any kind of testers you are using, but maintaining those tests are is quite a difficult task because if the response of the API is changing or the schema of the API is changing, your tests have to fail.
Yes, of course, of course, of
Right.
course. No, this is very. Like, I mean, everybody loves to run tests, but nobody loves to write tests, right? And to maintain tests, it's horrible. Like nobody likes to maintain tests.
Right.
And what do you think would be the future now with the special like recent developments of GenAI and do you think do you see like in the future custom tests being completely GenAI maybe assisted or generated, or do you think security engineers will still have some say in it?
No. So I think security engineers will still have jobs even when we have uh, GenAI taking over. So I think GenAI definitely can help in writing custom security tests, but it cannot, at least for now, it cannot completely write the test cases. So there's a lot of background that's required. Maybe checking with the developers how the fix is working or how the data is flowing. So that requires a lot of pre-knowledge before writing the test. So I think a GenAI right now is not capable enough to do that. Maybe I'm wrong, but at least at the moment, it's difficult to write complete test case from starting to end directly using GenAI. But definitely a good point that GenAI can be very helpful in writing test cases. Means at least a boilerplate code and maybe to refine the rule that we have written. But maybe it's difficult to write the complete test using that.
Yeah, and apart from GenAI, I think one another important aspect that can help is the community part, because I've seen you run actually yourself some workshops on actually how to create the tests, how to build them, and how do you think like is the community a very important aspect in building custom tests or not?
So I think
It
custom
is.
tests again is like you can divide them into two different parts. So if you look into Semgrep rules, so there are multiple variety of issues that it can detect. So you can go and contribute to that repo. But when it comes to very specific test that your company needs, those are usually closed set of rules. So it's not possible for you to means use that open source rules and implement them for your infrastructure because your infra is different. The rules that communities has written is totally different. So you'll probably have to write your own set of rules for your infrastructure, but definitely community plays a very key role in maintaining test cases, not for writing test cases. So that can be very helpful for you to understand how the rules work or how people usually write rules, but those rules are very generic and is cannot be directly used for your infrastructure if you're uh, if you're maintaining old state.
Okay, so you think, for example, it would be very hard for one e-commerce platform to adapt business logic tests to
No,
another?
maybe for a company like Amazon, a shopping website, the tests that are already present on any open sourced repo, which contains a set of custom tests, might not be that helpful.
Mhm.
That their own security engineers write, understanding their infrastructure.
Okay, and do you think like in the future there is a space for something that would be a bit more powerful than the existing solutions that exist today, and specifically um, some assistance to maintain the test over time, maintain the test when the signature of the application changes and when the fixtures in the database changes?
So do you mean that there's a chance that uh, dynamic testing using custom tests has a possibility where if the schema changes, the test can automatically update? Is that what you
Yes,
mean? Yeah, yeah, definitely.
yes,
Chance
yes.
if you can directly integrate your custom tests with the code and with every code, if you maybe using GenAI or any other technology, you can
Mm.
change your security test as well. So definitely a chance of having that, and would love to see that maybe by you or someone else.
I can't disclose our research yet, but soon.
Like that's good enough.
Soon. And great. How do you manage the relationship with the engineers? Because when you write a custom test, often there is
Okay.
no fix. So how do they accept the fact that there is a business logic vulnerability? Do they understand it and they accept to remediate, or do you have to go through opening a ticket, discussing in person with them, and helping them to remediate?
So I think developers play a key role here. So I think without them helping us giving the proper knowledge of how the interface means the code or the data is flowing, it would
Mm.
be a little difficult for to write the test. Not
Yes.
impossible, but
Okay.
definitely a blocker for us. So having developers by our side is really helpful. So I think
Okay.
a ticket is usually not needed. So you can probably check with your developers, find a time to understand how the fix is working, if it is available. If not, you can try to understand how the data is flowing and what is the source and what is the sync. You can try
Mm.
to discuss with your team, with the developers, or maybe brainstorm on your own. And based on that, you can take a call.
Mm. And how long, for example, does this process take on your side, for example, to write custom tests and then to, talk with the
I
developers?
think that is very subjective. So it depends
Mm.
on team to team that how busy the team is to help us, and then how difficult it is to write the test, how much time the research needs, plus if there are any other priority work that needs to be done. So based on that, so definitely not a time, but if you devote a specific 2 to 3 days on a normal security issues, it's I think it's easy to automate that.
Very interesting. And when you teach others, for example, either other people in your team, during the workshop, what are the steps? Like, what is the process, to teach someone else to write those tests?
I think you are talking about the workshop that we discussed earlier. So I think I went to one of the conference with my friends who also work at LinkedIn. So we gave a workshop about Semgrep itself, where we discussed what Semgrep, what SaaS is, and a little bit about that. And then we delved deep into what Semgrep is, how to write rules. So we didn't cover very in depth about Semgrep rule writing, but overview how to get started, how to write a hello world sample test using Semgrep. So I think that was very helpful for the folks there as well, and we received good feedback from that. Because custom tests are not means guidance for custom tests is not very easily found on the internet. It's a little difficult to learn how to write, and I think that was really helpful for the students as well.
Okay, and what advice would you have, for some young security engineers who want to actually get started and want to get better, what resources would you recommend for them?
I think the best is to start with the basics. So understand how common vulnerabilities work and how they can be exploited. And the other thing is, I think, learn from other security engineers or researcher. I think that is a great point to discuss, meet with other fellows and learn what they're doing and how you can learn from them. That is another great thing. And then there are multiple resources on the internet where you can learn from. There are multiple great posts, blog posts, and then there are multiple great YouTubers who post really great content on cybersecurity. Yeah, I think
Yes, because you create some content as well on the side, no?
no.
No?
Not a content creator yet.
Maybe one day. Well, you're already, on the podcast, so
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
where it starts.
Yeah.
Because that's where we saw it get started. And I think for us, we really try to support, also young people who try to get into cybersecurity. And maybe if you can share also your experience with them, like how did you personally get into cybersecurity?
Sure. So I think my degree itself was specialized in information security. So that was a good head start. So after that I did a couple of trainings related to cybersecurity itself. But the main thing here is you have to study on your own. No one is gonna come and teach you. So that is, I think, the key lesson I learned. So not college, not trainings, or not
Yeah.
anyone is gonna come and teach you. So the main thing is you'll have to work hard and you'll have to read yourself for yourself. So it can be books, YouTube videos, blog posts, or anything. Means that's the key point here. Right.
And do you have any recommendations then, for example, for books or courses for people who can drop, link after the episode is recorded for people who want to
Definitely.
learn?
Maybe after the podcast, I can share some of the good penetration testing books or cybersecurity related books to get started with. I think that would be a great start.
Yeah, that would definitely be great. That's what we're trying to collect at each episode and then share with the community, because I think that's the
Definitely.
community aspect that's very important, in cybersecurity, and that's what we hear from a lot of guests on the podcast. Learn from others. I think that's
Yeah,
something that
definitely.
we hear almost all the time. Okay, great. Well, thanks a lot for coming on today's episode. It was great, and I hope other people will learn a little bit more, about custom security tests and how to run them, and why they're useful, especially for business logic. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for hosting me.
Yeah, thank you for being our guest, and it was super interesting. I'm personally a fan of tools. I love security tools, and I love security tests. So
Okay.
this was really an episode that I enjoy speaking about.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you start some content or if you do some workshops, feel free to keep us up to date.
Sure. Sounds good. Thanks. Thank you both.